This is Emerging Daily with Charlton Scott Fisher. Scott is the founder and leader of Emerge Nashville, a spiritual refuge that's an evolving ministry expressing radical grace every day. Emerge is supported 100% by listeners like you. To make your tax-deductible gift and to learn more about Emerge, visit emergenashville.org or email emergenashville@gmail.com. We hope this program will help you to emerge as pure gold and to stir you to put love into action.
I want to welcome you to this edition of Emerging Daily. I am Scott Fisher, and as you can tell from the noise in the background, I am on the go again today, trying to record as I'm going about trying to get some things done. I know I say this in probably just about every episode, but I really do hope that this podcast is blessing you. I hope that it's encouraging you, inspiring you, empowering you to walk a little bit more in love and to grow a little bit more spiritually, which the two go together. But I really do mean that. I hope that we are able to in some way impart some things that'll stir you unto growth, unto change, and help you to make a difference in your world. Yesterday, we shared some things dealing with spiritual warfare and what exactly that is. It's not that we're fighting some unseen, invisible demon army, but that we're fighting these things within us that are assaulting that spark of God within each of us, which is Christ, which is the anointing. And we're fighting those things that stand in opposition to that part of us that is God. And sometimes we do it consciously, and sometimes that warfare happens unconsciously. And sometimes we are fighting on the one side, and sometimes we're fighting on the other side. Sometimes we're fighting against God, against Christ within us, and we might not know it, and sometimes we do know it. Sometimes there's a part of us saying, okay, you need to do this thing that's good to bless this person, and because we might not like that person, we don't do it, and we fight against it. Sometimes it may have us to bless somebody that has hurt us, or, there's many ways that we consciously even fight against that nature of God within us, that Christ nature. But there's also times that unconsciously we're fighting against it. And then there's times that we consciously fight on the side of Christ, that we fight against that antichrist, that which stands in opposition to Christ. Sometimes we do fight against what we should be fighting against, which is that darkness, that ignorance, that which would have us to not grow in the Lord, that would have us not manifest the nature of God. And so sometimes we're fighting on one side, sometimes we're fighting on the other. And sometimes we're doing it, like I said, unconsciously, and sometimes consciously on either side. And today we want to sort of use that in a sense to spring into this thought of all things work together for good. Paul said in Romans 8, all things work together for good to them who are called, to them that love God and are called according to His purpose. And that's a really deep verse right there, because when you delve into it in the Greek, there's a whole lot more there than any translation or interpretation of Scripture that I've ever read or seen. And because I am on the go, I obviously don't have my notes and my computer with me that has a lot of my notes in it, but we're gonna still touch on that, because that has a lot to do with the fight that we're fighting. See, if we think that all things are just supposed to work together for the good of my business, or all things are supposed to work together for the good of my goals, my endeavors, my wishes, then we're wrong. That's not the good that it's working towards. I'm sorry. Sometimes we get get discouraged because we think that way, and then things don't work out. And then somebody else will come along and say, oh, but brother, all things are working together for good. Well, they don't really know what they're saying. They're just saying that many times just to have something to say. And then sometimes their intentions are good, but they really don't know what they're talking about, because they think, well, okay, somehow or another this is going to work out, even though it might not look like it right now. And sometimes that does happen. Sometimes it does work out the way that ultimately we would like it to. But in all honesty, if we would all just really look at our life, and even the life of Jesus and Paul and others, it doesn't always work out the way we think it should, or the way we want it to. So what is this good that it's working towards? See, if we can really know and understand what that good is, it can help us. See, knowledge gives you power. Understanding gives you power. Wisdom gives you power. That is part of the weapons of our warfare that we spoke of yesterday. That is part of those weapons, is knowledge. The helmet of salvation is part of the armor of God. Paul talks about in Ephesians chapter 6. Well, what is that helmet of salvation? It is, the helmet covers your mind, your consciousness. Your mind is, in the Greek, is psyche, deals with your mind, will, and emotions. And so that helmet there is to cover your thoughts, cover your mind with the knowledge of salvation. Well, what is the knowledge of salvation? Well, salvation in the Greek comes from sozo. It's soteria, and it comes from sozo. Has to do with healing. It has to do with prosperity. It has to do with being saved from calamity. But ultimately, the helmet of salvation is to walk in the understanding and awareness of the will of God. And so, what is that will? See, if we don't know what that will is, it's hard to walk in that consciousness of salvation. So, we need to know what that will is, what that good is. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to the episode entitled God is a Rewarder. Because God is a rewarder. Paul says, well, it's in Hebrews, and some people say Paul wrote it, some people say Apollos wrote it, some people don't know who wrote it. But it says that God is a rewarder. It says, without faith, it's impossible to please Him. He that comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. What is it that He's rewarding us with? See, all these things work together. All these things, all these different scriptures are speaking of the same thing. He's a rewarder of them that diligently seek prosperity? No. Healing? No. A big, nice house? No. A beautiful wife or a wonderfully handsome husband? No. Children? No. A nice car? No. Those that diligently seek Him. And what is He rewarding you with? With what you're seeking. He rewards you with Himself. He rewards you with His nature. He rewards you with His character. Now, ultimately, once we align ourselves with God, once we align ourselves with His nature, with His character, with His kingdom, the ways and means of God, then, yes, we can walk in blessings, but then there are still times when there are pressures that will come to cause us to walk in a higher degree of that realm. So what is it that the good that all things are working together toward? What is that good? What good is it? What is the good? The good is for us to be formed and fashioned into Christ. Paul said, I travail in birth until Christ is formed in you. And so that is the good. That is the good. When we know that, when we walk in that understanding, then we can see all these things in our life and know somehow God has allowed these things in our life in order to bring opposition, Satan, into our experience for us to wrestle with in order to overcome in that area.
I hope you're being blessed by the podcast today. We wanted to pause for just a moment and just remind you to please check out our website, emergenashville.org, or you can also go to emergingdaily.com, either one. You can find out more information about our ministry, about some things that we're wanting to do, and how we're wanting to make an impact in the Middle Tennessee area and in the world. And also, while you're there, check out the link that's there about our new line of t-shirts, hoodies, and things like that. We have several different shirts that are available. They say Just Love, and then it has our Emerge Nashville emblem on it. If you would consider purchasing any of those, it would be a blessing to us, and I think it would be a blessing to you and to those you encounter, because when they see that message on there that says Just Love, maybe, hopefully, it'll make them think and be aware of the fact that, hey, we need to be walking in love towards one another. But anyway, we'll get back to the message here shortly, but I just wanted to encourage you to check those out, and also please let your friends and family and co-workers and people know about the podcast. It's available on pretty much all the podcast platforms and apps, and of course it's available on our website. And also check out our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/emergingdaily, and like our page if you would, and share it. We would really appreciate it. And we'll get back to the message here shortly.
God has allowed these things in our life in order to bring opposition, Satan, into our experience for us to wrestle with in order to overcome in that area. In whatever area that you are dealing with, the reason you're dealing with it, the reason you're having that pressure, the reason you're having that opposition and that warfare in your life, that turmoil, is for you to deal with this thing and to overcome it. And there's things that it's no big deal for me to deal with or to overcome that you're dealing with. It could be really easy for me. That wouldn't be even an issue for me, but it is for you. And so that's why you are having to wrestle with it, because it wouldn't be an issue for me. And the same goes for what I'm dealing with, wouldn't be an issue for you in some cases. So that's why we're having to wrestle with these things. And so these thoughts will come and say, well, where is this God? Where is the promise of His coming? Well, the coming there is His appearing in that area of your life. Well, where is, and these thoughts will say, well, where is the promise of His appearing? Where is His coming? Where is His presence? That's what the word coming means. The coming of the Lord is the word, it actually means the presence. Where is the appearing of His presence? Where is His presence? And these thoughts will discourage you. They will stand in opposition to what God is trying to effect in you, in your life, in your situation. Because ultimately, like I said, what He is trying to do is to bring you closer in line with its will, with its character, with its nature, so that the very nature and life and light and love of God can be seen in you and through you. That is the good that it's all working toward. And if we will arm ourselves with that knowledge, with that understanding, then we can overcome in every situation, because we know what the purpose of it is. What is the purpose? So that Christ can be seen in me through this thing. And it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. It wasn't ever said that it would be. Jesus said for us to take up our cross. He never said for us to take up His cross. And see, that's what the church, especially the evangelical church world, seems to think, is that, well, let's just hold up the banner of Christ, hold up the banner of Jesus' cross. No. He did not ever say that. You are to take up your own cross, and that is the cross that you die on daily, is laying your thoughts down, laying your goals, your ambitions, your will, your attitude, your emotions, your consciousness, to lay it down, to die to these things, and allow the nature and character and life and love and light of God that is within us, that's within you, to come forth. That's the good that it's all working toward. So, like I said, as you arm yourself with that understanding, with that knowledge, then you can cast down these other reasonings, cast down these other thoughts, as he said in 2 Corinthians, to cast these thoughts down that stand in opposition to the knowledge of God. What knowledge? The knowledge of what he's trying to do in me, what he's trying to do in you, what he's trying to do in us as a whole. See, ultimately, the purpose of all of this is to bring us all to where we all, as one human, as one group, as humanity, as one person, to show forth Christ, to be God on this world, on this earth. That was why we are here. That is why we are here. That is the good that it's working toward. And yes, there will be blessings in your life. Yes, you should want to have health and healing. Yes, you should want to have a sound and good mind. You should want to have a good, prosperous life. You should want the best for you and your family. But you should also want that for everyone else. But none of that matters in comparison with the forming of Christ in and through you. And none of that has any weight with God in comparison with Him forming you, forming Christ in you, in your life, in your experience. Because God is expressing itself through and as you. And when we do not allow that expression to manifest fully the nature and character and life and love and light of God in our experience, in our walk, in our daily life, that is what sin is. To miss that mark. So the good that all this is working toward, what good is it? What good is all this working for? It's working for the forming of Christ in you, fully. Not in you within, but in you in your life. In other words, it's already in you. It needs to be formed in your experience, in your daily walk, in your encounters with life and with others, with every situation and every circumstance, every person that you encounter in your life, for Christ to fully manifest in and through you in those things, in those areas. And it may sound like a broke record because I keep saying the same thing. But see, that's what Paul was saying. That's what Jesus was saying. That's what James and John and all of them were saying. That's even what the Old Testament or the Jewish Bible or the Torah or the Psalms and the prophets, all of those things were pointing to the same thing. That we would allow God to fully live in us and through us, for us to be God in manifestation in this world, on this earth. That's the good. And so today, think on these things. Meditate on this. Dwell on it. Contemplate it. Search throughout the Scripture. Look in the Bhagavad Gita. Look in some of the Vedas. And see if they're not all saying the same thing. Because they are. And it's as we allow love to fully envelop us and to fully express through us, that is when we are truly fulfilling our destiny. Hey, before we go today, I do want to encourage you to please consider getting one of our Just Love hoodies or shirts or whatever. That campaign is going to be over Saturday, February the 2nd, which is tomorrow. So if at all possible, please get one of these. It will help the ministry. It'll help support this podcast. It will help us to secure some venues for us to have some worship and teaching times. And it'll also help us with beginning to set up these outreach ministries. And if you'll go to our website, it'll tell a little bit about that. And also our Facebook page and our Twitter. On Twitter, we are twitter.com/emergingdaily or at emergingdaily, and also the same on Facebook. It's facebook.com/emergingdaily or at emergingdaily on Facebook. And if you haven't, please sign up for our newsletter. Sign up to our email list so that you'll get our newsletter and stay up to date on what's going on. But please consider getting one of these hoodies or shirts, because like I said, the proceeds will help us with this podcast. It'll help us set up some venues to have teaching and worship times. It'll also help us with getting some of these outreach opportunities going to help our community and ultimately help the world. If you've gotten our newsletter, you know some of those areas of impact that we're trying to make a difference in. If you'll go to our Facebook page or Twitter, either one, there is a link there to the latest newsletter, which shares a little bit about what those outreach opportunities are. But please consider doing that. Getting one of those hoodies or shirts. You can find more information about them on our website. You can go to emergenashville.org, or you can go to emergingdaily.com. Either one. There will be a link that'll share with you all about what the cost is. These are very good garments. The material and workmanship are very good. They're from some good companies like Anvil, Next Generation. It tells some of the other companies, but they're really good quality material. It's combed, ring-spun cotton, so they're good and soft and durable. But please consider doing that, and we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening today, and we hope you were stirred to put love into action. Feel free to send your questions or comments to emergenashville@gmail.com, and please consider donating on our website, emergenashville.org, or write to Emerge, P.O. Box 3242, Lebanon, Tennessee 37088.